Commander Lisa Harper stood in front of the large screen and could not believe what she was seeing. The ship from Earth had just been destroyed. It was carrying Ambassador Kevin Morrison and his team. They were heading to a peace meeting. 3 enemy ships had attacked them without any warning. The attack came from the Zentari. Everything happened so fast that nobody had time to react. The room on Kepler Station became very quiet. People from 12 different alien races watched the explosion. Small pieces of metal and debris floated in space where the human ship used to be. Everyone looked shocked except for the Zentari group. The Zentari had faces made of crystal. Their faces showed no feelings at all. A Zentari leader named Overseer Krath stood up to speak. His voice sounded like metal scraping against metal. The translation machine made his words clear to everyone. He said this was a test. He said humanity was too aggressive to join the Galactic Council. He said humans were dangerous to other peaceful races in the galaxy. His words were cold and final. Lisa felt her heart beating fast. Her hands became cold, a test. They had killed 300 innocent people just to test humanity. These were people with families. They had children waiting for them back on Earth. They were teachers, scientists, and diplomats. All of them were now dead. Lisa wanted to grab her weapon, but she forced herself to stay calm. She was alone here. She was surrounded by beings who had just shown they would kill humans without any problems. Krath kept talking. He was not talking to Lisa anymore. He was talking to all the other aliens in the room. He said the council had voted already. The decision was made. Humanity would be trapped in their own solar system. Any human ship that tried to leave would be destroyed. Any planet that helped humans would be punished. The decision could not be changed. It was final. The other alien leaders started talking among themselves. They whispered and made strange sounds, but nobody spoke up against this decision. Nobody said it was wrong. Lisa understood something terrible. This whole meeting was planned. The Zentari had set up everything from the start. They wanted to stop humanity before humans could become powerful. They wanted to keep Earth weak and alone. Lisa spoke quietly, but her voice was strong. She said the Zentari had made a big mistake. She said Earth would answer this act of war. The other aliens turned to look at her. Some of them looked surprised. Some looked afraid. They did not expect a human to speak like this. Krath turned his crystal eyes toward Lisa. There was something in his look that might have been pleasure. He was enjoying this. He told Lisa that humans were too weak to fight back. He said the Zentari Empire had 600 worlds under their control. Earth had barely made it to their own moon. He said humans should accept their place. He said if humans behaved, maybe they would be allowed to survive in their small corner of space. His words were meant to hurt. They were meant to make Lisa feel small and powerless. Lisa quickly sent a secret message to Earth. She knew the Zentari would try to block her communications soon. She had to work fast. Her fingers moved quickly across her device. The message was short but important. It told Earth everything that had happened. It told them about the attack and the quarantine. Then she did something that surprised everyone in the room. She smiled. Her smile was not friendly. It was the smile of someone who knew something others did not. She looked at Krath and spoke softly. She said 300 of her people just died because the Zentari wanted to send a message. Now she wanted to send a message back. She said humanity does not give up. Humans adapt to any situation. Humans overcome every problem. And most important of all, humans remember everything. They remember who hurt them. They remember who killed their people. Security guards moved toward Lisa. They were going to take her away from the station. These guards were not human. They were working for the Zentari. Lisa did not resist. She walked calmly between them. But before she left, she looked one more time at the Zentari leaders. She looked at each of their crystal faces. She wanted to remember them all. The Zentari thought they had won. They thought humans were just another weak race that would do what they were told. They thought wrong. They did not understand humans at all. They did not know that humanity had survived ice ages that killed most life on Earth. They did not know humans had fought through terrible diseases that wiped out millions. They did not know that humans had survived 2 massive world wars and became stronger each time. Earth was not a peaceful planet. Humans had to fight for everything they had. They fought against nature. They fought against wild animals. They fought against each other. But through all of that fighting, they learned how to win. They learned that the strongest weapon was not size or strength. It was the ability to never give up. It was the ability to learn from mistakes and come back harder the next time. As the guards took Lisa through the halls of Kepler Station, she thought about Earth. She thought about her home. She thought about all the people there who would hear about this attack. She knew what would happen next. Earth would not cry. Earth would not beg. Earth would prepare. And when Earth was ready, the Zentari would learn what it meant to make an enemy of humanity. The Zentari had picked the wrong species to attack. They had thought humans were primitive and weak. They had thought human technology was far behind their own. They were about to discover they were very, very wrong. Earth had secrets. Earth had weapons the Zentari had never seen. Earth had been preparing for this day for years. They knew that one day they would meet hostile aliens. They knew they needed to be ready. Lisa smiled again as the guards put her on a small ship that would take her back to Earth. The Zentari thought they were sending her home in shame. They thought she would tell Earth to surrender. But Lisa knew better. She was not going home to deliver bad news. She was going home to help prepare for war. And this would be a war like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. The small ship left Kepler Station and started its long journey back to Earth. Lisa sat alone in the passenger area. She looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zentari were celebrating. They thought they had put humans in their place. They thought Earth would stay quiet and obey their rules. They would learn soon enough how wrong they were. 300 humans had died today. 300 innocent people who just wanted peace. Their deaths would not be forgotten. Their deaths would not be in vain. Earth would make sure of that. The Zentari had started something they could not finish. They had awakened something they did not understand. They had made humanity angry. And an angry human was the most dangerous thing in the universe. General Nathan Clark stood in front of the United Earth Defense Council. His face showed many years of hard work and battle experience. 3 weeks had passed since the attack at Kepler Station. Earth had used every single second to get ready for war. The room was dark except for the blue light coming from the holographic star maps floating in the air. The maps showed enemy positions across space. General Clark pointed at the glowing red dots on the map. Each red dot was a Zentari monitoring station. These stations watched the border around Earth's solar system. There were 16 of them in total. Clark explained that the Zentari thought humans could not travel fast enough through space to be dangerous. He said the Zentari were wrong about that. His voice was calm, but there was anger behind his words. Admiral Karen West sat forward in her chair. She was in charge of Earth's space fleet. She had gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She told the council about a secret technology Earth had developed. It was called the quantum fold drive. This drive could make ships travel across huge distances in space very quickly. The aliens did not know about this technology because Earth had kept it secret for exactly this kind of situation. Earth had been preparing for war long before the Zentari attacked. President Linda Hayes was sitting at the head of the long table. She was the leader of all Earth. She asked how fast these new drives could move their ships. She needed to know if they could really win this war. Her voice was steady, but everyone could hear the worry in it. The fate of all humanity rested on what happened next. Clark touched the holographic map and made it zoom in on one of the enemy stations. He said they could reach any Zentari border station in under 2 hours. The enemy expected human ships to take weeks or even months to travel those distances. Earth ships would hit the enemy before they even knew what was happening. The element of surprise would be their greatest weapon. The Zentari would not have time to prepare defenses or call for help. Dr. Susan Martinez stood up next. She was the lead scientist for a project called Manhattan Project 2. It was named after the secret program that built the first nuclear weapons hundreds of years ago. Martinez was young but brilliant. She pushed her glasses up her nose and began explaining the weapons Earth had created. She spoke quickly because there was so much to tell. She said the quantum fold drive was just the beginning. Earth had developed weapons that could control gravity. These weapons could crush enemy ships or tear them apart. Earth had created tiny machines called nanites. These nanites could work together and destroy enemy equipment from the inside. Earth had built special electromagnetic pulse weapons that could shut down entire enemy fleets at once. All their electronics would stop working. Their ships would become helpless floating metal boxes in space. Martinez continued talking. Her voice grew stronger as she spoke. She said the Zentari thought humans were primitive. The aliens judged Earth based only on what they could see. They looked at Earth's old technology and public weapons. They had no idea what Earth had been building in secret. Earth had been studying alien technology for years. Spies had stolen information. Scientists had examined broken alien machines. Earth knew the enemy's weak points. Earth knew exactly where to hit them. Commander Lisa Harper was also at the meeting. She had just returned from Kepler Station. She still remembered the faces of the Zentari leaders who had killed her people. She spoke to the council about the political situation. She said the other alien races were watching Earth very carefully. They wanted to see if humans would accept the quarantine quietly. If Earth gave up without fighting, humanity would never be respected in space. Other aliens would think humans were weak. They would push Earth around forever. But Lisa said if Earth struck back hard, it would send a different message. It would show that humans were not afraid. It would prove that attacking Earth had serious consequences. Other alien races would think twice before threatening humanity in the future. Respect had to be earned. It could not be asked for or given freely. Earth needed to show strength. President Hayes looked around the table at all her advisors. These were the smartest and strongest people on Earth. They were generals, admirals, scientists, and diplomats. Each of them had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity. Now they needed to make the biggest decision in human history. Hayes spoke clearly. She reminded everyone that the Zentari had murdered 300 innocent people. The attack was unprovoked. Earth never had a chance to defend itself. Now she wanted recommendations. What should Earth do? General Clark did not hesitate. He said 2 words. Totalva. He said Earth should not just defend its borders. Earth should attack the enemy. Earth should take the fight to the Zentari homeworlds. Earth needed to show the galaxy that attacking humanity would cost more than anyone could afford to pay. His words were harsh, but everyone knew he was right. Half measures would not work. Earth needed to be brutal and fast. Admiral West agreed with Clark. She brought up numbers and facts. Earth had 43 warships with the new technology installed. The Zentari had over 2,000 ships in their fleet. That seemed like a huge difference. But West explained that Zentari ships were spread across hundreds of star systems. They could not all work together quickly. If Earth moved fast and hit hard, they could destroy enemy bases before the Zentari could gather their forces. Speed and surprise would make up for smaller numbers. The council talked for hours. They discussed strategies and plans. They argued about targets and timing. But in the end, everyone agreed. Earth had to fight back, not just to survive, but to win, to make sure this never happened again, to earn their place among the stars. Finally, President Hayes stood up. The room became quiet. Everyone waited to hear her decision. She looked tired but determined. She said the operation was approved. It would be called Operation Righteous Fury. She told her military commanders to show the Zentari what happened when you cornered a dangerous animal. She said Earth did not fight fair. Earth fought to win, whatever it took, however brutal it had to be. The council members started leaving the room. Each of them had important work to do. Ships needed to be prepared. Weapons needed to be loaded. Crews needed final training. Everything had to be perfect. There would be no second chances. If this attack failed, Earth would be destroyed. The Zentari would make sure of it. Lisa Harper stayed in the room after everyone else left. She stood alone looking at the holographic star map. It showed all the Zentari positions. Red dots everywhere. So many enemies, but Lisa was not afraid. She thought about what the Zentari had said. They called humans aggressive. They said human violence was a weakness. The Zentari were about to learn the truth. Human aggression was not a weakness. It was humanity's greatest strength. It was what helped humans survive and reach the stars. And now the Zentari would face the full force of human anger. The war was coming. Earth was ready. The Zentari had no idea what was about to hit them. They thought they were safe in their powerful empire. They thought Earth was too weak and too far away to be a real threat. Soon they would discover how wrong they were. Soon the galaxy would see what humanity could really do when pushed to the edge. The countdown to war had begun. Captain Jake Sullivan held tight to the arms of his command chair. The quantum fold drive was starting up. The main viewing screen showed space bending and twisting in strange ways. Colors that should not exist swirled in front of the ship. Then suddenly everything changed. The ship called Independence had just traveled 3 light-years in 90 minutes. They were now at their target location. In front of them floated the Zentari monitoring station called Border Watch 7. The station looked peaceful. Its lights blinked slowly in the darkness of space. The aliens inside had no idea that an Earth warship had just appeared right next to them. They did not know Earth had this kind of technology. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. Lieutenant Paul Chen sat at the tactical station. His fingers moved quickly across the control panel. He checked all the weapons systems. Everything was working perfectly. He reported to the captain. The gravity weapons were charged and ready. The nanite swarms were released and waiting for orders. The electromagnetic pulse cannons were online and aimed at the target. All systems were green. They were ready to attack. Sullivan took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would change everything. He gave the order clearly and calmly. Weapons free. Execute attack pattern Delta. His voice did not shake. He had trained for this moment his entire career. Now it was time to show the Zentari what Earth could do. The Independence opened fire with everything it had. Beams of pure gravitational force shot out from the ship. These beams hit the Zentari station's energy shields. The shields tried to protect the station, but they could not handle this kind of attack. The gravity beams twisted the shields into knots. They tore through the protective energy like a knife through paper. Within seconds, the shields collapsed completely. The nanite swarms moved in next. These tiny machines were so small that normal sensors could not see them. They flew through holes in the station's outer hull. Once inside, they went to work immediately. The nanites found every computer system and every electronic circuit. They broke down the technology piece by piece. The station's lights went out. The power systems failed. Communications stopped working. Everything went dark and silent. Chen checked his sensors and made his report. The target was neutralized. The enemy did not send any distress signals. All Zentari life signs on the station had stopped. They were dead. Every single alien on that station was gone. The attack had taken less than 2 minutes from start to finish. Sullivan felt no guilt. These were the same people who had destroyed an unarmed diplomatic ship. They had killed 300 innocent humans without warning. Now they were getting a taste of their own medicine. He ordered his crew to prepare for the next jump. They would go to Border Watch 3 next. They needed to keep moving before the Zentari realized what was happening. All across the border between Zentari space and Earth's solar system, the same scene happened again and again. Human warships appeared out of nowhere. They attacked with weapons the aliens had never seen before. They destroyed monitoring stations before anyone could send for help. The Zentari defensive network was falling apart. Station after station went silent. The border that was supposed to keep Earth trapped was disappearing. On another ship called Defiance, Captain Rachel Moore watched her crew work. They moved with perfect coordination. Every person knew their job. Moore received new orders from Admiral West. Phase 2 was beginning. They were not just destroying border stations anymore. Now they would go after the enemy's shipyards, the places where the Zentari built their warships. Moore's second in command was Commander Alan Price. He looked worried when he heard the new target. The Zentari shipyards at Kalos Prime were deep inside enemy territory. That location was where the Zentari built their entire war fleet. It was one of the most important and most protected places in their empire. Price said this out loud. He wanted to make sure the captain understood how dangerous this mission would be. Moore smiled coldly. She said that was exactly the point. In about 3 hours, that shipyard would not exist anymore. She told the helm officer to plot a jump to Kalos Prime. She told the tactical officer to get every gravity mine ready. They were going to plant these mines around the shipyard. When the mines exploded, they would tear the entire facility apart. Nothing would be left. Back on the Zentari homeworld, the High Command was receiving the first reports of the attacks. They read the messages with complete disbelief. This was impossible. Humans could not travel through space that fast. Their technology was supposed to be hundreds of years behind Zentari technology. Earth should not have weapons like this. The reports had to be wrong, but more reports kept coming in. Station after station stopped responding to calls. Supply convoys were being ambushed and destroyed. Now there were reports of human ships inside Zentari territory. They were heading toward the most important military bases. The truth could not be denied anymore. Earth had lied about their capabilities. They had hidden their real power. And now they were using that power to destroy the Zentari Empire. Overseer Krath stood in the command center watching the tactical display. His crystal hands were shaking. He could not believe what he was seeing. 16 border stations destroyed. 3 supply convoys completely wiped out. Human ships were moving freely through space that should have been protected. They were heading straight for Kalos Prime. If they destroyed the shipyards, the Zentari would not be able to build new warships. They would be defenseless. Krath ordered his staff to send a message to the Galactic Council. He needed help immediately. The Zentari could not fight this war alone. He told them the humans were more dangerous than anyone had thought. His voice was desperate. The empire that controlled 600 worlds was being beaten by one small planet. It was humiliating and terrifying at the same time. But the Galactic Council's response would take time. Messages had to travel across vast distances. By the time help arrived, it might be too late. Earth's fleet was already moving to its next targets. The ships jumped through space faster than anything the Zentari had ever seen. Every few hours, another important military facility was destroyed. The Zentari Empire was being taken apart piece by piece. The Zentari started to understand their mistake. They had judged Earth based on what they could see. They had assumed humans were weak and backward. They thought one quick attack would put Earth in its place. Instead, they had awakened something terrible. They had given humanity a reason to show its true strength. And that strength was far greater than anyone had imagined. Earth had survived ice ages when most species would have died. Humans had lived through terrible diseases and devastating wars. They had learned to adapt and overcome every challenge. Their technology had developed in ways focused on one thing: survival. Every weapon, every ship, every strategy was designed to win at any cost. Nice words and peaceful intentions did not matter when your species was threatened. Only victory mattered. The Zentari had wanted to test Earth's resolve. They wanted to see if humans would fight back or surrender. Now they had their answer. Humans fought back with a fury that shocked the entire galaxy. They did not just defend themselves. They attacked. They struck at the heart of the enemy's power. They made sure everyone knew that threatening Earth had consequences that no one could afford. The war had just begun, and already the Zentari were losing badly. Their border defenses were gone. Their shipyards were being destroyed. Their supply lines were cut, and Earth's fleet showed no signs of slowing down. The message was clear. Humanity would not be caged. They would not accept limits placed on them by others. They would fight for their freedom with every weapon they had. And they had more weapons than anyone knew. The Galactic Council chamber was in complete chaos. Alien delegates from dozens of different species were all talking at once. Some were shouting. Others were making strange sounds of distress. The latest reports from Zentari space had just arrived and nobody could believe what they were hearing. Ambassador Thelkor of the Draxian Confederacy stood at his speaking platform. His tentacles moved wildly as he tried to get everyone's attention. Finally, the room became quiet enough for him to speak. He announced the numbers. The humans had destroyed 70% of the Zentari border defenses. This happened in less than 4 days. The shipyards at Kalos Prime were now just floating wreckage. 3 Zentari colony worlds were blocked by human forces. No ships could get in or out. Thelkor's voice showed his shock and fear. His translation device struggled to express how upset he was. He said this was something nobody had ever seen before. One small planet was beating an empire that controlled hundreds of worlds. It should not be possible. But it was happening right in front of them. Counselor Meridax of the Kelvar Union spoke next. The Kelvar had always stayed neutral in galactic conflicts. They did not take sides, but now even they had to say something. Meridax suggested that maybe the Council should think again about the quarantine. The humans were clearly more advanced than their intelligence reports had shown. They had technology that was better than even the Zentari in some ways. Maybe Earth deserved a place in the Council after all, Krath interrupted angrily. His crystal face seemed darker than usual. He said absolutely not. The quarantine must stay in place. He said the humans were proving exactly why they needed to be contained. They were a violent species that attacked others with overwhelming force. Look at what they were doing to the Zentari Empire. This was not defense. This was pure aggression and revenge. Ambassador Thelkor's eye stalks turned to focus on Krath. His look was not friendly anymore. He spoke in a cold voice. He said Krath was talking about diplomatic measures. But what the Zentari did was not diplomatic. They had destroyed an unarmed ship full of peace negotiators. They had declared war on a species that had done nothing to threaten them. And now Krath was complaining that Earth dared to defend itself. The chamber became very quiet. This was the first time any council member had openly criticized the Zentari's actions. Everyone had been thinking it, but nobody wanted to say it out loud. Now the truth was in the open. The Zentari had started this war. They had no right to complain about how Earth was fighting back. Krath's crystal features became even darker. He was angry and embarrassed. He told Thelkor that he did not understand the situation. The humans were dangerous. They had to be stopped before they became a threat to everyone. The Zentari Empire had 600 worlds to protect. They could not allow a violent species to become powerful. Counselor Vera of the Ashen Collective spoke up next. The Ashen were unusual because each member had 3 heads that all thought together. All 3 heads spoke at the same time in perfect harmony. They suggested that if the Zentari thought humans were so dangerous, maybe the Zentari should stop them without council help. The council had not approved any military action. The quarantine was supposed to be peaceful. The Zentari had turned it into a massacre. This was their problem to solve. While the council argued, Captain Jake Sullivan was receiving new orders aboard the Independence. The message came directly from Admiral West on Earth. It was short and clear. Earth had been listening to the alien communications. They knew the council was divided. Some species were starting to question the quarantine. Others were openly criticizing the Zentari. The political situation was changing. Now it was time for the final move. Sullivan read the orders and then spoke to his crew. They were going to Zentari Prime, the Zentari homeworld, the planet where billions of Zentari lived. Lieutenant Chen looked shocked. He said that attacking the homeworld would be an act of total war. There would be no going back from that. The Zentari would fight to the death to protect their home planet. Sullivan's face was hard as stone. He said the Zentari started this war when they murdered Ambassador Kevin Morrison and his delegation. 300 innocent people died for no reason. Earth was going to finish this war, but they were not going to kill civilians. They had a different target in mind, something that would send a clear message without being evil. The Independence jumped through space one more time. 12 other human warships came with it. They all appeared in orbit around Zentari Prime at exactly the same moment. The Zentari defensive fleet immediately tried to respond. Alarms went off all over the planet. Millions of Zentari looked up at the sky in fear. Enemy warships were above their homeworld. This had never happened before in their entire history. But Earth's forces were not there to fight the defensive fleet. They had a specific mission. Using their gravity weapons with very careful aim, they disabled every military satellite orbiting the planet. They destroyed every defense platform. They knocked out every weapon system that protected Zentari Prime from space, but they did not fire a single shot at the planet itself. No cities were damaged, no civilians were hurt. Then the human ships broadcast a message. It went out on every radio frequency. It was translated into every language used by the Galactic Council. It played on every screen and speaker across Zentari Prime. The voice belonged to Commander Lisa Harper. She was the woman who had watched helplessly as the Zentari destroyed the human diplomatic ship. Lisa's voice was calm, but strong. She said this was Commander Lisa Harper of Earth speaking. She said they had just neutralized the planetary defenses to make a simple point. Earth could have destroyed Zentari Prime. They could have done to the Zentari what the Zentari did to Earth. But they did not. Because unlike the Zentari, humans understood the difference between justice and genocide. They knew the difference between punishment and murder. She paused to let her words be understood. Then she continued. She said the quarantine was over. It was lifted immediately. Any species that wanted peaceful relations with Earth was welcome. Any species that threatened humanity or Earth's allies would face consequences. This was not a request. This was not a negotiation. This was a declaration. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. They were here to stay. Nobody was going to push them around or tell them where they could go. The message ended. The human fleet disappeared as quickly as it had arrived. The ships jumped away through space, leaving the Zentari in total shock. Their government did not know what to do. Their military was embarrassed. Their people were terrified. The mighty Zentari Empire had been humiliated in front of the entire galaxy. Earth had proved they could strike anywhere at any time. No defense could stop them. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the alien delegates sat in stunned silence. They had all heard Lisa Harper's broadcast. They had seen the reports of what happened at Centauri Prime. One species was saying all the things that many of them had been thinking. The Centauri had started a war they could not finish. Earth had shown incredible power, but also incredible restraint. They could have killed billions, but chose not to. That said more about humanity than any diplomatic speech ever could. Counselor Meridax stood up and made a formal proposal. Earth should be given full membership in the Galactic Council immediately. The quarantine should be officially ended, and the Council should investigate what had happened at Kepler Station. The Centauri needed to be held accountable for their actions. Other delegates started agreeing. Voices from dozens of species spoke up in support. Krath tried to argue, but nobody was listening to him anymore. His species had lost this fight in every possible way. They had lost militarily when Earth destroyed their defenses. They had lost politically when other species turned against them. And they had lost morally when Earth showed mercy that the Centauri had never shown. The galaxy had seen two very different approaches to power, and they knew which one they preferred. 3 months had passed since Earth's ships appeared above Centauri Prime. Commander Lisa Harper was standing on Kepler Station again. But everything was different now. The station was no longer controlled by the Centauri. It had been given to a neutral group to manage. Lisa was not there as a prisoner this time. She was there as Earth's official representative to the Galactic Council. The council chamber was completely full. Every major species in the galaxy had sent someone to attend this meeting. Beings of all shapes and sizes filled the room. Some had tentacles, some had crystal bodies, some looked almost human. All of them were here for the same reason. For the first time in galactic history, Earth was being given a seat at the table. Not as a junior member, not as a species on probation, but as a full voting member with equal status to everyone else. Overseer Krath was not there. The Centauri government had forced him to leave his position. His actions had almost destroyed their empire. The Centauri people were angry at him for starting a war they could not win. In his place sat a younger Centauri named Diplomat Yaren. She seemed much more humble and careful than Krath had been. She knew her species had learned a hard lesson. Ambassador Thelkor was now the council mediator. This meant he was in charge of running the meetings and keeping order. He announced that the council recognized Ambassador Lisa Harper of Earth. His voice was respectful. Things had changed a lot in 3 months. Before, the council had watched silently while the Centauri attacked humans. Now everyone wanted to hear what Earth had to say. Lisa stood up slowly. She looked around the chamber at all the different alien faces watching her. Each of these beings represented worlds she had never visited. Each had their own history and culture. Some had feared Earth. Some had supported the quarantine. But now they were all listening. A month ago they had ignored humanity. Today they could not stop talking about Earth's military power and advanced technology. Lisa began speaking. Her voice was clear and confident. She said, "Members of the Galactic Council, Earth was not here to celebrate military victories. Earth wanted to propose a way forward. What happened between Earth and the Centauri should never happen again to anyone. The Council had failed to prevent an unprovoked attack on a diplomatic vessel. This showed major problems in how the galactic community governed itself. She used the holographic display to show a detailed plan. Earth was proposing the creation of a peacekeeping force. This force would be made up of volunteers from all member species. Its job would be to protect diplomatic vessels and prevent attacks on peaceful civilizations. Lisa also proposed completely new rules for how the Council dealt with first contact situations. New species needed to be treated fairly, not threatened and attacked. Counselor Meridax asked the obvious question. Would Earth contribute ships and people to this peacekeeping force? This was an important question. Many species were still nervous about Earth's military capabilities. They wanted to know if Earth would use this force for its own benefit. Lisa answered directly. Earth would provide 20% of the fleet. Earth would also share some of their defensive technologies with the force. But the peacekeeping force would answer to the Council. It would not be controlled by any single species. Its purpose was to maintain peace for everyone, not to serve as Earth's private military. The force belonged to all species equally. Diplomat Yaren raised one of her crystal hands to speak. When Thelkor recognized her, she stood up. Her voice was quiet and sad. She said on behalf of the Zentari government she wanted to formally apologize. She apologized for the actions of Overseer Krath and for the deaths of the human delegation. The attack on the diplomatic vessel was a crime against all civilized species. The Zentari Empire accepted full responsibility. They were offering to pay reparations to the families of those who died. Lisa nodded slowly. She understood this was difficult for Yaren to say. She said Earth accepted the apology. She also said the Zentari people should not be blamed for what their old leaders did. Lisa proposed something unexpected. She suggested a joint research program between Earth and Zentari Prime. The two species could work together on peaceful technology. It was time to turn this tragedy into an opportunity for cooperation. Enemies could become friends if both sides were willing to try. The chamber filled with discussion. Aliens talked to each other in dozens of different languages. Translation devices worked hard to keep up. Some delegates liked Earth's proposals very much. Others were more careful. They were still worried about humanity's demonstrated military power. But one thing was certain. The conversation had completely changed. Earth was no longer seen as a primitive species that needed to be controlled. They were now recognized as a major power in galactic politics. Their voice would be heard and respected. The debate went on for many hours. Different species had different concerns and ideas. But slowly a consensus formed. Most species agreed that Earth's proposals made sense. They would make the galaxy safer for everyone. Finally, Thelkor called for votes. The first vote was to officially end the quarantine. The result was unanimous. Every species voted yes. The second vote was to grant Earth full membership in the Council. Again, every species voted yes. The third vote was to create the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Once more, the vote was unanimous. When the session ended, Ambassador Thelkor approached Lisa privately. His tentacles moved in a way that showed he was thinking carefully. He told her that Earth had terrified many species. The speed and accuracy of the military response had shocked everyone. The technology Earth revealed was beyond what anyone expected. The way Earth fought was ruthless and effective. Many species had questioned whether Earth should be welcomed into the Council at all. Some thought humans were too dangerous. Lisa looked at him directly. She asked what he thought now. After everything that happened, did he think Earth belonged in the Council? Thelkor's tentacles curved into something that might have been a smile. He said the galaxy was definitely better off with Earth as an ally rather than an enemy. He said humans had a saying about sleeping giants, something about not waking them up. Lisa finished the saying for him. Better not to wake them. That was the lesson everyone had learned. The Zentari had wanted to test Earth. They wanted to see if humans would submit to their authority. Instead, they discovered what humanity did when cornered. Humans did not surrender. They did not beg for mercy. They fought back with everything they had, and they made absolutely certain their enemies never wanted to provoke them again. Thelkor said it was a harsh lesson. Many Zentari had died. Their empire was damaged. It would take years for them to recover. Lisa agreed it was harsh, but she said it was necessary. The galaxy needed to understand that Earth wanted peace, but Earth would defend itself without any hesitation. Respect had to be earned. It could not be asked for or given freely. Now finally humanity had earned its place among the stars. Lisa walked to the viewing window and looked out at space. Somewhere out there, human ships were already patrolling as part of the new peacekeeping force. Earth's colonies were expanding into new systems. The artificial boundaries were gone. Human scientists were working with alien researchers. Together they were pushing the limits of knowledge and technology. The future looked bright. The Zentari had tried to test Earth's resolve. They wanted to keep humanity weak and contained. Instead, they had unleashed Earth's full potential. They had transformed the entire galactic political system. The Council would never again dismiss a species based on how they looked. They would never again underestimate the danger of attacking a peaceful but capable civilization. Earth's harsh response had left the Galactic Council speechless, but it had also opened the door to a new era, an era of cooperation and mutual respect. Humanity had not arrived quietly. They had arrived with force and determination. They had made their presence known in a way that would never be forgotten. The galaxy had learned something important about humans. When pushed to the edge, when their survival was threatened, humans became the most dangerous species in the universe. Not because they were cruel, but because they refused to give up. They adapted, they innovated, they found ways to win against impossible odds. That was what had made them successful on Earth, and that was what would make them successful among the stars. Lisa smiled as she watched the stars. Earth had fought for its place and won. The cost had been high. 300 people died at Kepler Station. Many more died in the battles that followed. But their sacrifice had not been in vain. Because of them, Earth was now free. Humanity could explore the galaxy without fear. They could build relationships with other species as equals. The galaxy would never be the same. Earth had changed everything. And as Lisa looked out at the infinite stars, she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity's journey among the stars had truly started. The future was full of possibilities, and Earth was ready for whatever came next.